Hello, hello, good evening, and welcome to it's actually supposed to be our second, but it's our first Goddess in Chief conversation. And I am so excited because I have a woman that is just fantastic tonight, and we're going to be talking about building wealth, we're going to be talking about empowerment, we're going to be talking about sex. And where does that all of that connect in with wealth building? So we're going to do all of that tonight. So let me try and pin this. Hello, hello, you Yvette. Thank you for joining us. Now I'm doing this whole. Let me pin a thing and while we wait for Sophia Bailey to join us. And I actually put her full name, which is Sophia Bailey-Larsen. So I can't wait to have this conversation. Good evening, good evening. Hey, 1% Clothing, thank you for joining us. So it's not letting us pin conversations, but that's okay. Let's see who else is here. Hey, Tony Hardy, thank you for joining us as well. We'll be starting shortly. Waiting for our goddess in chief, who's going to be joining us tonight on the couch as we talk about wealth building, manifestation, empowerment, and sex. And where does that all meet in the middle? So we'll love to have your questions. Okay, so let's see if I can check if we have. Waiting for her to join, and this is going to be fun.
Okay. Oh, there
Oh,
we go.
hello, hello, hello.
Oh, is this how we do it?
This is how we do it.
I don't know how to do this stuff. All right, cool. Send a.
All right, there you are. So just bring your camera down an angle a
Oh,
bit.
hold on a moment. Let me. Can't see myself, so that's fine. There we go.
Well, you look lovely. We can see you. You look lovely. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Are we live now? Live, live.
We're live.
Oh, right, cool. Hi, everyone.
That's the beauty of this thing. It's just like you're gonna go live and you're live now. And so we're live. And
Cool.
so here we are. And for people who don't know you, you, my dear, are an incredible woman. So how you define yourself right now is a vision creation mentor. And I just like that line. It's about helping people create that vision. So you're a vision creation mentor. You are an inspirational trainer. You've been a speaker. You've done quite a few incredible things, but right now what you're focusing on is teaching women how to build wealth out of their purpose. And so, ooh, have we lost Sophia? So we have some circles going on. So her network may be playing funny because it's what networks do. So why I'm here talking about her, this woman has done quite an incredible amount of different things. It is what it is. Hey, Money Mob, thank you for joining us.
Hi, I'm back. Sorry
So
about that. Okay.
that's okay. I was just introducing you and talking about the fact that you're a vision creation mentor and inspirational trainer. You have taught over 7,000 women to generate what it takes to generate wealth through their purpose. And
That's right.
you are one of the few British, actually, let me rephrase that. You're one of the first certified Napoleon Hill certified leadership instructors as well.
That's right.
And so those are all your big titles, but I get the distinct pleasure of calling you a friend. I get the distinct pleasure of calling you a fellow sister goddess. So yes. All right, so let's jump into this because we're talking about juicy subjects. We're talking about empowerment, we're talking about sex, we're talking about manifestation. So let me ask this question because just, for those who don't know, where does sex and manifestation, where do they intersect? Where do they cross the lines?
Well, as we are living in this place of duality, and hi Lillian, and hi everybody, and thanks for the welcome, by the way. But we are living in this
You're
space of
welcome.
duality, which I know all of your audience knows about now, meaning that we are simultaneously experiencing what it is to create in the physical as well as create in the spirit. So this is the
Yes.
intersection, is the fact that we are pretty unique as human beings in the fact that we have the power of creation in our thought space. We have the power
Mm,
of creation that works just in the same way as it does when we get together to create in the physical, to create a physical person. In that
right.
essence, in that side of things, you know, two people come together and create a third. Two essences come together. We don't go into it so much as sex and create a third. But there's also this energy that we're given that when two minds come together, that also creates a third. There doesn't always have to be a third mind, but or a second person to create a third mind, but there is that aspect of yourself that is able to connect with your spiritual side and to impress the thing that you want to create out there and have it actually come to birth and to come to fruition in our world as a physical thing you can see. And
Hmm.
what binds them together and what intersects about the two of them is, as you know, my baby story, right, Lillian? When I had my son, who is 3 years old, I didn't know that I was pregnant, but the act had been done, all right? I didn't know I was pregnant until I was 20 weeks. That's when I was first told I was pregnant, and I didn't really believe it until I was about 21 weeks. But that it had already happened, it had come together. So no matter what I did, whether I believed it or not, it was going to happen. The thing about our manifestation is the thing that you are putting out there with emotion in the right way, regardless of if you understand the rules of how it works or not, it's coming to fruition. Okay,
Mm,
so this intersection is really important to understand because it pertains to the power of our own thought process. And many people don't believe in the power of their own thought process. But whether you believe a thing is going to happen or not, the thing that you're putting out there is coming. It's on its way. Like my son was coming. He was there. Like I knew I was pregnant at 20 weeks. I had him at 36 weeks. Like he was there a little while later because I had impressed so strongly that I wanted a son. That it was coming. It was coming. I didn't even believe it was going to happen, but it happened eventually. And if you don't understand the power of yourself to create in this way, to bring from the spirit and from your thought, a physical thing, a physical being, it may mean that you're not as conscious of what you're thinking. It may mean that what you are manifesting is a life that you don't want because that's the thing that you are vividly impressing. That's the thing that you're using
and
your thought
that's
to focus on. So, it's really important. Yeah.
so that point that you just made about whether you believe or don't believe, and whether what you are focusing on is good, bad, or indifferent, it's coming.
It's
So
coming.
you mentioned about, what you impress upon and the emotions that you carry. So for someone who's just joined us and thinking, okay, these are big fancy words here, how do we break this down to the bare bones of it, because the fact of the matter is sometimes people look at this concept and go, no, I don't know about this. How do we make this really simple and basics?
You know what? I teach advanced manifestation, Lillian. So, because there is an advanced part to it, and the advanced part of it that can be broken down is it's not only about the pretty pictures that you focus your mind on. It's not only about the list that you write and the vision board and things like that. It's the
Hmm.
way that you feel and believe about the thing that you are creating. It's the way that you
Mm.
feel and believe about it. If you strongly have those images and you strongly want them, like you put them on your vision board because you love them, like that's the life you want, but deep down inside your belief is that, but that is not the life for me, I'm never going to have that. You're more likely to produce things that are going to reinforce that which you believe. The belief of it and the love of it and the belief of it are the two strongest creative factors. So if you want to break it really, really down and you understand just, my thoughts become things and I can have the things that I think about, you need to also think, what do I truly believe about that? Do I believe I'm worth it?
Hmm.
Do I believe this is possible and that it's coming and that it's for me and that it will stay, it will last? And if you don't, if your immediate thought, your spirit thought is that actually, no, you've got to be honest with yourself
Hmm.
about this, and there are the parts to actually focus on, to think about what is actually going on with you. Because you were
Hmm.
born into a world where this was possible. Along the way, other things may have happened to convince you that it wasn't possible. Like if I told my son he could fly right now, he has no reason not to believe that he can't fly. He believes he can fly. He believes he's Spider-Man. He can do everything because he's 3 and he has not yet
Yeah.
come across the reasons why he hasn't. We're all like that in the beginning, until the world convinces us that we don't own that power.
Yeah.
So, it really is looking back to when did I come across the story I told myself that said this wasn't for me
Mm.
and
You
addressing that
know,
story. Mm.
you have touched on a couple of things because you're talking about the stories that take us out of our power and the idea that we're all born with this unbelievable amount of power. We're all born with this unbelievable amount of belief and optimism. And so we get talked out of it because that's what happens. Whether it's intentionally, unintentionally, we somehow become talked out of our magic. So let's start looking at what do we have to unlearn to start manifesting with ease as women, even as men, because we have some men in the room tonight. What do we need to unlearn to start manifesting?
I believe what needs to be unlearned is that the thing that you came here to achieve, the thing that you came, sorry, what you came here to achieve is the most important thing. So, what to unlearn is everything that contradicts that. Because until you come back to that true source of who you are, it's very difficult to continue and follow the path regardless of what life throws at you. You'll only do it
Mm.
if you believe you're here for a higher purpose and you truly believe it. And you don't just say, oh, yeah, everyone has a purpose. Everyone says that. But if you truly believe that, no matter what life throws at you, you will continue because you believe
Mm.
that you're destined for this outcome. You need to unlearn that another person's opinion, your circumstances, your background, everything that life is throwing at you right now. Unlearn that it's there to tear you down. Perhaps it's there to strengthen you. Perhaps these are the
Mm.
very, very qualities that once you come through them are going to lead you to exactly what it is that you want. I think unlearn the way that we think situations and experiences make us failures in life. That was the major thing that I had to unlearn before I could unlock and unleash this part of myself. I had to
Yeah.
unlearn that, I mean, all these people that have opinions of you and what you're doing and who you are, their opinions are not as important of you as yours of yourself. And so you better
Mm.
start working on that opinion of yourself so you can prove to yourself that you deserve these things. And then the things that felt really big and really weighty and really challenging were no longer a challenge because they were a very small part of what I can now see was my bigger picture.
Yeah. Okay. I like this, and I like that we're going to actually touch on a couple of things that you just mentioned there about the unlearning process. But for those who are just joining us, welcome, welcome. This is the Goddess in Chief conversation with Sophia Bailey-Larsen, and we're talking about manifestation, empowerment, and sex. We're talking about how do we manifest with that sex energy. And so we're going to be going into a couple of things, but you were talking about what we have to unlearn, and that the one that touched me was when you talked about unlearning that failure experiences made you a failure, because we're told, hey, right from school, if you failed in an exam, you failed, so you are the failure, and that's the problem. And so
So true.
that one, how do we prevent, especially to those who are parents, how do we prevent not passing down that level of insanity to tiny people in our lives, or not so tiny people, medium-sized people in our lives? um, how do we pass that on, that it doesn't make you a failure, it's an experience, and this is what you do next?
It's really interesting now that I'm in this place where I do have a tiny person to teach these lessons to. Coming from a place where I've already had a couple of tiny people and I've had myself, and I've looked at the way that I've handled things, I now see that my son, when he attempts to do something, initially you can hear the words of people that have been around him vibrate with him, like, no, I'm not a winner, everybody, everybody can do this, and this kind of thing, a kind of ununiqueness that you learn at school, that everyone must participate and everyone's the same and everyone gets this, so it's not good if I win, we can all share. Nothing wrong with that, but it takes him away from his power to
Mm,
accept that, okay, no, but if you did it this way and that didn't work, how about we try a new way that might work? That's the conversation that I have with him. So
mm,
rather than kind of, it's nice to kind of to be in that place where you accept that these things are wrong and that's just how it is, and we'll just let it go at that, and that's fine. But going one step further and thinking, okay, what can we learn from this, and how can we do it a different way so that we can win, so that we can feel proud just for ourselves, not for others. I think that's a really
mhm.
important trait at,
Yeah.
at our age and at his age, and I've seen the transition in him since he's got that way. He doesn't get tantrums and so fussed about when things don't go right. It's more of a curiosity of how many more ways can we try. This is exciting, and that is the mindset that you need. That's the mindset of success versus failure. Because when you are a success, or you strive for success, you don't see failures as failures anymore. You see them just like Thomas Edison did in the book Think and Grow Rich, where when Napoleon is writing about it, he said he found 10,000 ways that a light bulb wouldn't work before he found the one
Yes.
that it would. You have to be prepared to look
Exactly.
for 10,000 ways that something won't work without writing it off as not being for you.
Mm.
I found that a lot when I was working with like a lot of women in network marketing. I found that they would usually think that it was them, because they would try to do something like someone that they'd seen do it, someone at the top of the company, or be that person on the stage, or be that person in the results. But what you don't realize is maybe that person's been in the company for a month or two so far, but they've had 10 years of experience. That's why they're so good right now. That's why they walked in and have done this. And you are on day one. Now you might all be on, month two, but there's a whole bunch of failures that have brought them into the place where they are. And everybody goes through that to get to the place where they can use their own uniqueness to succeed. I really believe in that part, that everyone has their individual success journey and path based on what makes them different,
Mm.
based on the uniqueness and authenticity that you bring. Um,
And I think that needs to be reminded. We need that reminder, because again, there's something that you mentioned about, you see other people and you're thinking, well, why is my shit not working? So clearly my manifestation shit is broken. So I'm gonna go sit in a corner and rock, because
mm,
clearly I've had my vision board up for 50 million years now.
oh,
Nothing
stop.
has come to pass. So we're talking about this because there's some people that definitely feel that I have, listen, I have meditated till my ass is numb. I have sat, I have visualize, I've done it all, but it's still not seeming to work. So what do you tell those women and those men on what to do next, how to
What
actually get
happened for
around it,
me, let me
right?
tell you a story about that. I was single for a long time. I'm married now, and this is my first marriage. Very late in life, married for the first time, because I always aimed for what probably a lot of the listeners are aiming for now, this list of things that were my criteria, my detail for me to be able to manifest the thing I want. And in this case, the husband that I want or the man that I want, right? So it
Mm,
would start with this list, and you meet the guy, you meet the girl, whoever's watching, and then you'd realize that there was a thing that perhaps they didn't possess. So you got to keep on looking. That's not going to work out, and I'll keep on looking. The same thing happens with objects and with all the sorts of things we want to manifest in
mm,
life. I had the perfect list before I met my husband, the perfect list of all these things that I wanted, and sod's law or universal law, it came. I met this guy in the most amazing way, and he was all of these things. And we would talk about such intellectual topics, and he was charming, he was handsome, and he was rich, and he was all these things. And guess what, sis? I wasn't happy. He didn't make me happy because I wasn't a priority to him. He worked so hard, he did so many other things that even though I was in his life, he could never make me happy unless he was prepared to listen to me and walk a journey with me. And so
mm,
I scrapped the list because I realized the one thing that was what was missing was my own happiness. All I wanted to was to be happy. And I remember speaking to my friend and just saying, you know what, forget that list. I'm done with manifesting in that way because yeah, you get what you want, but it's like that I remember the movie where this guy he's trying to become the perfect man so he can catch the lady and he keeps wishing with the devil to do you remember that? Yeah,
yeah,
this
Brandon Fraser movie, yes.
that's that one. That's the one. Right. So I just wanted to be happy. When I made that decision to, can I just meet someone that just makes me happy? I met my husband 2 days later, and out of nowhere, it was so random because we're not even from the same country. He came into the country, into London where I lived then, for a meeting. We happened to sit next to each other, and we happened to hit it off. I never knew that that would be my husband, but he always, since day one, has made me happy since day one.
Oh,
And I have day one committed. All he wanted was to find someone that made him happy too. And that's what we've reaffirmed every single day since then. It's been 6 years now. And we're married with a baby and a nice house. And we follow all of these principles. But that is what I would say to the person. They're so busy looking at all of the other things that you're told to look at that they forget to include the highest energy emotions. There are
mm,
14 basic emotions that Napoleon Hill talks about in Think and Grow Rich, and 7 of them are uniquely really positive, and 7 are pretty negative. Those 7 that are negative will take you away from what it is you want. They will draw you away from your goals and away from your purpose because they seem to cloud the mind with ideas of what you
mm,
don't want. The others with love at the top, the energy of love at the top, which is the same energy that in an ideal world we would use for sex and procreation too. But with the energy of love, of loving what you want, being happy with who you want, having joy in what you want, feeling gratitude, all of these energies serve to raise your vibration to not to the level of, but pretty much very, very close to the level of creation, to the level of a creator that is creating all things in the world in love. If you believe
mm,
that as a basic thing, you are then on a path where you are able to use your spirit self to communicate what it is you want in pictures, in thoughts and ideas and visualization of what it will be to live that life. You're able to pretty much send an order, a direct order of what you want and have it come true when you're in the right emotion for it. The only thing that will slow it down or stop it is not believing that what I'm saying is possible. It's saying that that's all very well and good for her, but yeah, that don't really work. All those thoughts, every time you have them, they're going to bring you back one step. Imagine that. And every time you wipe them away and you truly, truly believe, what happens is that the opportunities to have that thing will come into your path. And this is where I'm saying that sometimes it can be challenging Challenges will be thrown at you, but maybe they're the challenges you need to overcome to have the personality or the character that you need to claim that opportunity and to take advantage of that opportunity. The opportunities that I wanted to have as a speaker, I wasn't courageous. I was scared to speak my truth or share a message. And so, of course, how am I going to lead? How am I going to attract if I can't even communicate a vision that people can stare into? I had to go through so many things that made me feel afraid until I was ready to step up and be a courageous person that was going to be fearless and overcome in order to become her, the goddess that I see and visualize for myself. Because she's not afraid of what men or women say about her. Like, what? Are you saying something? Are you talking over there? Okay, let me continue to focus on my vision and move forward.
I love this. Guys,
yeah, please.
I was going to say, guys, if you have questions for Sophia, please put them in. We'll love to have your questions as we go through this conversation on generating wealth through manifesting and understanding where sex intersects with that, and understanding what sex has to do with manifestation and empowerment. And we'll keep talking about that. So throw in some questions. We'll love to have it. And while we're doing that, we're talking, this comes from the Think and Grow Rich principles, which is what you teach and which is what you are certified under and what you believe in. Why are these principles not taught in the mainstream?
I think that's a really good question. Why are they not taught in schools? Well, actually, they historically haven't been taught in schools because the way that we determine success in life has shifted. What's taught in schools is what you need to become a good employee, to listen to someone, to remember what they said, to apply what they said, and be graded on that outcome. Whether that person has achieved the thing that you want or not doesn't matter. Just like it doesn't with the supervisor or an employee. They might just be the boss's son or daughter. That part isn't important.
Yeah.
What's important is that you're able to listen so that you can get a good job. And I know everyone says this, but that's that things haven't shifted enough to allow people to have more entrepreneurial thinking and more entrepreneurial teaching, which is what is needed now. So, people are doing the best they can, I guess, with the school system. It takes a while to shift a system, but it's insufficient. So what I've seen that's really interesting, where people are like, why don't they teach a mindset? Why don't they teach meditation? Why don't they teach all these different things to children to set them up for success? Why don't they recognize their individuality and go on their own strengths and what they're good at? My son goes to a pretty good school, one of the best schools in Spain. It's obviously a fee-paying school, but they do teach all that there. And when I speak to my friend, they teach all that there. My son is 3, and when the other day I'm walking down the road with them, and I think I got a message or something. Something frustrated me, and I stopped and I looked at my phone. I was like, so annoying. And my son's in a stroller because I'm pushing him up a hill, and he said, "Mum, you need to breathe. At school we do it like this." And I'm like, okay. Okay, son, you're absolutely right. And sometimes like, Mum, just put your arms up like this. Now breathe out like this. And he's learning it all at school already. This is how you handle those situations. Whereas, very easily, if he got in a frustrated state in another school, like when my other kids were little, then you could have got in trouble for going against the flow. But now we're understanding some core skills that are going to make you grow and flow. And I think it's just a matter of time and shifts in other schools, in public schools, where the syllabus is more structured by the government. It will come. I think it will come. Why we're not taught it is because we never needed it before, like we need it now. We never needed it.
I mean, we absolutely need it. I think we needed it back then, but it didn't make it into the system. But the fact that certain schools are teaching it now, that's a good thing. And I think it's also on us who are in charge of tiny people to teach the tiny people. And while we teach them, we're teaching ourselves. So I
Mm.
think, yeah, start them when they're young is absolutely crucial. So I know some folks are here simply because it had sex in the title. So
Let's
let's
go.
talk
Let's
about the
talk
sex
about
part. So
sex,
what is
baby. All
sex
right.
trans? Yeah, let's talk about sex, baby. Before we go into that, and we have Salt and Pepper come after us for butchering their song. What is
Sorry.
sex transmutation?
Well, the word transmutation is simply about changing from one thing to another. It's changing from one form to another. So sex transmutation is about, in Think and Grow Rich, is about the thought of sex and changing the thought of
Right.
sex from the physical to having the energy of sex in the spiritual, using that same process, because the purpose of sex, there are more than one purpose of sex. Obviously, there's sex for creation, of us, as I've mentioned before, and there's sex for
Yep.
enjoyment that most people are very aware of. But the third form of sex is this sex transmutation, is understanding that the energy that rises up within you, the passion that rises up within you when you are attracted to someone sexually, has a really high charge. This form of energy is the number one, that the most powerful in driving you towards an outcome. And this is why he's included it, because what he noticed is that everybody of any level of success was able to turn their thoughts of sex from this being a thing for enjoyment to understanding that when I waste my sexual energy and power simply for enjoyment, I'm losing it. But when I retain it, meaning in this instance, when I don't have physical sex, I notice that my energy is raised. I notice that I burn that energy in other ways. And when I give it
Mm.
a focus, then it's like the impossible becomes possible. So in this chapter, he talks about the muse. The reason I teach this solely to women is because it's very male oriented. So in the book, he's talking about when you have a muse, when you have someone that, like the prince charming going after the princess, and he will slay a dragon
Mhm.
for her, or a man will do all sorts of things for the love of a woman. He will, while retaining and transmuting this energy, be be transcend all the way up to the level of genius. He will be the best that he can, the best painter, the best artist, the best creative, to impress her with what he has created for her love in return. So the
Right.
same thing applies, both men and women, though he doesn't mention women in the book in this way in terms of a muse. When you have a muse, either a person that you love, or for me, when I teach women, many of us are single or have been single, I use my muse as the goddess within. I'm just like, I visualize the goddess that I am becoming, and I do things thinking about her and thinking about what she might eat. Like, would if I'm becoming this goddess, would she eat this one or this one? When you got a choice, which one's she gonna eat? Which activity will she do? Which show will she watch? I kind
Right.
of train myself in that way, and use my passion in that way to become her, because it brings out the best of myself. But when I met my husband, and we spoke about this process, we were able to use the sex transmutation, or the sex magic, I guess, process that isn't talked about in the book. So there's so much confusion because there's sex magic and there's tantric section. There's all these kind of different actual physical sexual acts where you can rechannel your kundalini or rechannel your energy and passion through your body to just make you more powerful and give you a high and make you get this rush. But that's not what he's talking about in the book. That's why I was saying,
Right.
when we talk about sex now, I have to be, if we're talking about Think and Grow Rich sex, we're talking about, just channeling one idea and using a muse or a focal point to keep you on the journey to succeed, achieve that thing. For me, that's,
Okay.
I like
So
to make my
Sophia,
husband proud. Yeah, that's it.
we keep losing you ever so often.
Sorry.
with your connection. That's okay. But just the last thing you said. So you say that there's a difference between sex transmutation from the book, sex magic, and so and that's a good point that you've raised. But my question is, based on what he's saying in the book in terms of the sex transmutation, is it saying that we're not supposed to have sex for pleasure? Is it saying that we're not supposed to have sex, that we're just supposed to focus our sexual energy in the direction of our goals? How does this work?
In the book, he doesn't talk about it, and this is why it's the most intriguing chapter in the book. He doesn't talk about the physical side. He talks about the mental side of transmutation, where you are focusing your thoughts of physical sex to your thoughts on something else. He doesn't say not to physically have sex or anything like that in this book. But around the same time, there are a lot of books written in the New Thought movement that do cover this. I guess he just thought the book wouldn't be as acceptable if you went into detail in this, but other books do, and they talk about refraining, and they talk about refraining or abstaining from sex if you're single and not wasting that as an energy source. But they also talk about the physical aspect of sex, of being really specific about who you join with, who you merge with, because of what it does to your energy. So in terms of this, there has to be something of a ritual. When you understand the power of this magic and you have the right person, meaning you have prepared mentally with them, and there's a lot of respect in there. You have prepared physically with them in terms of hygiene and things like that, in terms of energies being high energies as well, and in terms of in advance of like actually having physical sex, you would have a joint goal. And that's why it's important to choose someone that you have love with or joy with, that you want to build something together with, because you have a joint goal. If it's just a fling or a one night stand, you don't have a joint goal. It's just a waste if you want to use it in this
Right.
way. Do you understand? But if you have a joint goal and you're thinking about that at the point of orgasm, even without with joint ejaculation, it's not for making a child. There's an energy there at a spiritual sense that can go out while you both have your mind on the same thing, the same image, with the same level of energy, emotion, that brings your manifestations to you quickly. I can't explain the exact way that works, but it's just like having a baby. As I said, two minds come together and create a third mind, and that's a physical thing that brings a physical thing. And this is a very similar act where two people come together and in that point of orgasm impress an image upon the thinking substance that loves this whole energy and the image and the fact that there are two and it's everything needed for creation. Your manifestations with the right person in the right way come about very quickly. So I think that Napoleon Hill, there was probably a lot of conversation about this in that time because of the sheer volume of books that are around sex, magic, and transmutation at that time. So where he does sort of touch on it is in terms of it being a waste of energy, or that men in particular waste their energies and begin to realize that they've wasted this energy around the age of 40. And that is where they begin their success journeys, because they stopped. Yep, solo too. All right, I'm going to get to that as well. Okay, I'm going to get to that too. But that's where they have stopped that act of wasting this and then focusing on a business or a financial goal. And you'll find that many of them after 40 become so focused, less on women and spilling their oats and all that, but on getting what it is that they want to get out of life. And it comes more quickly for them. So yes, this is something that I would suggest. Thanks for that, Yvette. I would suggest that if you do not have a partner, it's not something that is worth just getting with a partner just to do, just as the men are advised not to just waste their energy like that. I believe that even though the energies are supposed to be quite equal of the man and the women in terms of this sexual manifestation process, I believe that the woman is the nurturer. She is the one that carries and gives birth to the vision. And I think that our power to be able to do this solo is even more powerful. It's even more powerful because they carry the seed and that, they plant the seed together with you, but you carry that vision, that baby, you carry it, you nurture it, you give it everything of yourself until it becomes a physical reality. So
Hmm.
because there's that law of oneness, as above, so below in the world, that must mean that there's something inherently within us. It's so many more women that talk about manifestation and this whole process, especially through sex, that when you keep this to yourself and in private, you are thinking about what it is that you want, you've imaged it, and you know everything that it takes to get it, you have the emotions that go with it, and you keep that image in your mind. When you reach that point of orgasm, you have the same effect of, you can send that out into the universe with gratitude that it is coming. You birthing your baby just the same way.
Okay.
Every so
So I like
all my life when I was single, that's how I did. Okay,
it.
and I achieved big things. So that's how I did solo manifesting.
So
We
that's how
calling
you
it
did it.
here.
Solo manifesting.
But it's
I
much more
mean,
powerful when you have love, love interest. It's quicker.
and I like that. And I like the fact that it's about that energy and bringing it in. And there's, like you said, the respect between both of you. But the fact that as women, we have this ability to also manifest solely. And so if we are carrying that energy, then it's for us to start tapping into. You mentioned in the book that he spoke about the muse. And in your case, you're saying for us to channel in and say, what would our goddess want? So for those women who don't believe in the goddess self, is what does your next version of yourself want? What will
Absolutely.
she eat? Where will she go? And for those who are goddess, who would take the goddess identity, is like, well, if I was my goddess self, how would I dress? How would I show
Exactly.
up? Where would I go on vacation? Who would I hang with? Who would I want to be seen with spending
Wow.
time?
And what would we talk about? I mean,
Yes.
it's just such an elevated impression of yourself. It's definitely something that you can fall in love with, and to have that love energy with in reciprocation. And so it makes you want to do this. Um, and
Mm.
your counterpart out there in the spiritual realm is there just helping you do that. When you're visualizing yourself as a goddess, you're walking, in the best of both worlds, in the human form with the mind of a goddess. It's just like, there ain't nothing that you can't command. The world is at your command. You snap your fingers, you can have it. You got to believe it. It's possible.
And
I just really
and
see that in myself and the people I
and
work
that's
with.
the thing. And that's the thing. It's us as women getting back to that space of actually absolutely believing. And so for those, before I jump into my next question, for those who are just joining us, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm talking to the goddess in chief this evening, Sophia Bailey-Larsen, and we are talking about sex transmutation, empowerment, manifestation, think and grow rich principles. We are talking about how do we manifest, and coming up to, it's coming to the end of the year. People are now, new year, new me is begin to float around. How do we stop doing that? I think that would be my question here. Let's stop the new year, new me dribble, and how do we reconnect to the power within us?
Let me get a clarification on that. What's wrong with having a new you in the new
So for
year?
me, every time I hear, every time I don't mind the new year, new goals, new ambition. But for me, sometimes when I hear new year, new me, it's saying, well, there's something terribly wrong with the me now. And sometimes it's
Mm,
like, okay, let's take out the me that I've worked on in the last 12 months and throw her away. And let me go find and pick up a new one and start the process all over again. So there's no continuity and that's in my mind. So me and the
mm.
new year, new me, I'm not totally on board. I get the principles in essence, but I'm like, the you that you've been in this last 12 months, you have survived so much, you have come through so much, you've learned so much. So why not take that into the new year and go further? That's just me.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree. I'm glad that I got clarification on that. I totally agree. There's always at least one area of life that you are focused on currently. And it will show because it's what comes up in your conversation. It's where you spend your money. It's where your mind drifts to when your mind has a chance to drift to something. And for most of us, at least for half of the year, if not all of the year, our mind is in that place and we're working to be better in that place. There are 7 areas, to my knowledge, of life like this. It may be that it's your physical body, your physical growth, your mental growth, your spiritual growth even, or it could be your social circles, your mindset and your mental capabilities, or even just the way that you're loving yourself. You know, there are 7 of these. So for most years, if you evaluate them and look into these 7 areas of your life, like, where did my money go? Where was my conversations? What happened with my friendships? You'll find that there'll be visibly an area that you weren't focused on and you let it slip, because what you fail to focus on will leave your life. What you fail to manage mentally will leave your life, and you won't even notice unless you come back to focus. So moving onwards and having a balanced life and building that part of yourself, not as a particularly new you, but a balanced you. A balanced you makes you come back into yourself and look at this and say, what would I like to play at focusing on this year? Will it be spending more time with my friends? Will it be working on my money? Will it be working on my mind? This is why every January I do a program, money plan, and that's what we do as women.
Okay, so we lost you for a second. Yeah.
So every year I work with a group of women every single January. We start our year like that, looking back at, you know, where it is that you're at now and what it is that you want. And with money not being an objection, money not being an object that holds you back. With Life as a Millionaire, we do an advanced manifestation process, but I encourage them to look in all areas of their life, because when people think about things like growing rich or becoming a millionaire, they think that money will solve all things. But generally, I have a lot of friends that are millionaires, and it's not the money that makes them happy. It's the focus of knowing what they wanted to do in all those areas of life. It's the way that they treat their families, their friendships, themselves. All those things are much more important. So this new year is coming. The preparation needs to be what has been important, what needs to be given more priority, and where can I celebrate all the things that I have become. You know, that part of us is so, like you're saying, you don't want to disregard all the work that you've done because it's brought you to where you are. But without something to look forward to, chances are you stagnate. So it's always important it doesn't have to be money every year, but it's important to build a balanced life, because it's the balanced life that gives you the happiness, and it's the balanced life that attracts the abundance, actually, more than you just focusing on money.
I like this. Instead of New Year, New Me, is New Year Balanced Me. And I think that is something that we need to take on board. New Year Balanced Me.
New Year Balanced Me.
Yes. New Year Balanced Me. And you know, and I think that's really important, because as women, we're always in this constant, and especially right now with the whole thought movement, people are like, you have to constantly hustle and grind. It's like, no, balance. There's time to work, there's time to play, there's time to laugh, there's time to cry, there's time for sex, there's time for everything.
To rest. Please incorporate rest, because we don't do it nearly enough of that. And most of your abundance comes while you sleep. That is when your subconscious mind does the most powerful work for you. So one of the people that really, really focuses and hustles and grinds and does all that, make sure you get enough rest for your subconscious mind to go out there and have conversations on your behalf, you know, put things out there on your behalf that are going to bring you the opportunities that you need to grind on, all right? That's a big part of it too.
Absolutely. And I think that is really crucial, that part of rest. So, you know what? For those who don't know, how can people connect with you, you know, aside from Instagram, how can people find you?
Okay, my website is sophiabailey.co.uk. But people always talk about lists and stuff. My little community, my circle is on WhatsApp. That's where I communicate with everyone. So if you DM me, I will add you to my WhatsApp. What I do every so often, I send broadcasts out, and it's always like I'm talking to you because I am. But I have the best conversations there. I let you know what's coming up. You very rarely see me post or promote because I don't need to. All of my offers are always sold out because everything that I do, I give to my WhatsApp people first. So definitely DM me and become a part of that, my millionairesses that I'm always speaking to. And that is where you can ask me absolutely anything, and I can introduce you to many of the mindset tools and resources that I use on a daily basis. And you'll see me doing that in stories too. So yeah, WhatsApp is my space. If you're wondering why you never see me do anything on Facebook or Insta or anywhere, it's because it's all there. All right.
Awesome. So people DM this
Yeah, just DM
amazing
me.
woman and find out a bit more. And I love the fact that you're talking about the tools, the mindset tools, and everything that we need. And I think as women, we need those tools. And I spoke about power, reconnecting with our power. I think the one thing that I would want to ask is this concept that empowerment. We've been taught that for us to be empowered, we need to kind of come out of ourselves and look for it out there. How do we
Interesting.
really tap into that core of our power, the one that we had when we were your son's age at 3, the one that we had when we came into this world and the only thing we were scared of was loud noises? How do we
Man,
reconnect to that part of ourselves?
you know, I asked myself a very similar question last year, and I came to the conclusion that you just mentioned, which is that aspect of playfulness, of being childlike, of being open and innocent. And I found it by doing improv. So I started doing improv
Okay.
this year. Yeah, it's so out of my comfort zone because I'm thinking, like, in England we have this show called Whose Line Is It In It Anyway, and they have to do all this kind of nonsense improv, like cluck like a chicken and all this kind of,
Yes.
oh my God, like, so yeah, I was thinking this is not for me. But if this can make me come out of that judgment, why can't I be childlike? Why can't I be less serious and just have fun for the fun of it and do something silly for the fun of it? So I signed up for the basic the first level of improv. And what I found was my empowered self, my authentic self, is always here at home because I speak to my husband, my children, all of my children, very authentically me in a way that I wasn't really bringing online. When I did improv and the exercises, I'm like, but this is what I do at home with my son. This is what I do in real life. So that's what I originally found. This is not as bad as I thought it was going to be. What I'd done in actual fact was take myself way too seriously, and I began to relax and come back to myself. And it helped me as a trainer because when you forget that part of yourself, sometimes playfulness and humor is a good way of connecting with someone, even in a difficult time, just breaking and cutting that energy just to
Yes.
allow them to be and to see the human side and see that, okay, it's not actually a failure, it's just a thing that happened. How are we going to get over there? Let's do that. And they can even laugh at the only thing. So I got into it for that. But then I've done like all the levels now of improv with Michelle
Oh,
Clark, who does Improv Santiago. I'll say that.
okay. Um,
Right, but this improv, if you can learn,
Sophia, we've just lost you
oh
again.
no, okay,
Yeah, so the
I
last
say
thing we heard was
improv,
go ahead.
Improv
Yes.
Santiago, Michelle Clark. She does these workshops. When I got to the advanced level, I was able to use a lot of the tools and techniques to help other women play and see themselves in a way that they lost the fear of what other people might say about them. I was able to turn it around like that, like let's all just come out of ourselves. And I created a vision creation retreat. And that's what I've been running the last couple of months with people who were terrified to even speak because of what other people might say or to show themselves, are out there like giving the best talks and all this sort of thing because of this improv. That is what I call empowerment, being themselves regardless of what else is
Mm,
happening around them. So I would strongly suggest doing something like that, either improv with Michelle Clark or coming to me and doing a vision creation workshop to empower yourself, to free yourself and to see how easy it is when you've tuned in. My message is all about tuning in to release that authentic self that flows so easily. To be empowered is simply to be okay with being you.
I like this. I like that line, to be okay with being you. I like that. We should hashtag that. Sophia, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Listen, guys, get in touch with her, find out some more, DM her to find out how to get on her WhatsApp list and have those conversations and connect with the tools. You listen, 2022, balanced you. It's time you do it for you. And if you want to find out more about sex transmutation, she's the woman to talk to. So, hey, what else can I tell you?
Thank you
I will say
so much,
again.
Lillian. Oh, let them know. Look out for there's a new movie on Think
Oh,
and Grow Rich, Sex Transmutation, and I'm in it, and it's coming out next year. I forgot to mention that, and we just had a whole chat about it. But yeah,
exactly,
yeah. So
exactly.
there you go.
So, guys, reach out. So, Sophia, I'm gonna say thank you, Goddess, for sharing with me as the first, well, second but first Goddess in Chief conversation tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. I've loved it, and thank you everyone for interacting there. It's been brilliant having you there and reading the comments. So thanks again. Bye bye.
All right. Good night, all.